Hi, ladies and gentlemen. Jordan Bateman here from ICBA with an emergency broadcast. Crazy day here again in Canada as the Trudeau government has announced that it will nationalize the Kinder Morgan Trans Mountain expansion. It's purchasing the current pipeline and the plans, and essentially the company that was going to build Trans Mountain. It's purchased it for $4.5 billion. There'll be billions more in construction costs and heaven knows what else down the road. ICBA, obviously our primary concern is construction jobs and responsible resource development in this country. We obviously support the idea of getting these 15,000 construction jobs going. We want this thing built. However, we have grave concerns over the manner in which this has gone on, and we lay the blame on one person and one person alone, John Horgan, the Premier of British Columbia. So we've sent out a press release today. Horgan's reckless approach to pipeline to cost taxpayer billions. 1 year ago today, John Horgan signed the governing accord with the Green Party MLAs, the three Green Party MLAs who supported the NDP and put John Horgan into the Premier's office. And in this 1 year span, it's mind-boggling what's happened. Let's recap. John Horgan has ripped up the approval of the Trans Mountain Pipeline project. He's created a constitutional crisis by wildly exceeding his jurisdiction, by forcing a question to go to court that virtually every legal expert in the country says is settled legal doctrine, but he's going to the court to pretend that somehow BC has more power than it actually does. He started a trade war with our closest neighbor, our closest ally in Confederation, Alberta. We've never fought like Alberta like we are today. He sent a chilling message to investors. If you're looking to start a responsible resource development project, why would you come to British Columbia? Why would you come to Canada? Why would you risk your millions or billions of dollars here when you know that the Premier of British Columbia at a whim can rip up a contract and move on? He's forced now Ottawa to spend billions of taxpayer dollars to build this project. A project that the private sector wanted to do. They wanted to build it. We didn't have to take on the risk. We didn't have to spend billions of taxpayer dollars. The private sector went through all of this effort. Look, Kinder Morgan did nothing wrong in all this. They went through years of approvals, building consensus, 33,000 different points of contact with First Nations, 43 separate deals with First Nations across the route. Got every single member, every single band along the route involved and to sign off on it. They managed to change the federal cabinet's mind. The Trudeau Liberals were elected, many of them fighting pipelines. They suddenly came to the realization of just how important this is to Canada. They got approval from the BC cabinet. They got approval from the National Energy Board. They did everything right in this process, and yet they still could not convince us to let them spend $7.5 billion building this pipeline. And now we own it. They won 16 court cases in a row, by the way. There's no court uncertainty on this project. The opponents continue to sue, and they continue to lose in court. 16 straight court victories for the Kinder Morgan side in this project. So, today's decision really does reinforce how difficult it is to convince, to get these projects, not only to get to yes, but to stick to yes. Later today, you'll see more from the Confidence in Canada group, which we're a part of, which includes the Greater Vancouver Board of Trade, the Business Council of British Columbia, the British Columbia Chamber of Commerce. This is the group that's put together 115 associations of labor, First Nations, municipalities, and businesses across the country to support this project because we know it needs to be built, and it should have been built with private dollars. Really a bittersweet day here at ICBA. We want to see this project go forward. We're excited that it is going forward. We're excited for the guys on the ground who are going to get to build it, but at the same time, it shouldn't be taxpayer dollars, and we're worried about the next project and the one after that and the one after that. How do we convince private investors to come to British Columbia, come to Canada to invest money here when we can't even get this project built? And again, there's one guy to blame, and his name is John Horgan. And John Horgan is all about one thing. John Horgan. He'll do whatever it takes to stay in power. He won't risk those 3 MLA votes from the Green Party. And because of that, he's turned his back on working men and women in British Columbia. He's turned his back on job creators. And he's created this constitutional crisis out of thin air. So if you're looking for someone to blame today, if you're wondering why you own a pipeline, blame John Horgan. I have a cowboy hat here I went through a kick in my life where I watched every episode of Dallas. We became a big Dallas fan, and who doesn't love the scoundrel J.R. Ewing? But let me tell you, the person wearing the black hat in this case, the person who has caused all of the trouble, is Premier John Horgan. We didn't want to own a pipeline. We had a private company lined up and ready to build it, and instead we flushed $7.5 billion of private investment down the toilet. Heaven only knows what John Horgan's going to do in year 2. But you can bet on one thing. The ICBA will be there to hold him to account. We're going to watch him like a hawk. We're going to continue to tell you when he's screwing up, and we'll praise him when he does good things. But these good things are becoming fewer and farther between, and that should be a big concern to all of us. So for ICBA, I'm Jordan Bateman. Go to our Get to Yes platform. Get to Yes. Yes.icba.ca. You can sign up there and support major construction projects and responsible resource development projects in British Columbia. We're counting on your help to turn the tide on what John Horgan has done today. Thanks.